Hello everyone and welcome to the BearNews. Today we are taking a look at a company that is absolutely hammering it lately. Starting off with the release of Field of Glory 2 Medieval, Slitherine has continued to exceed expectations in the wonderful lineup they have coming out in 2021 and beyond. Now for those who don't know, Slitherine is a relatively niche company working within the strategy gaming market. They have some classics in the terms of Panzer Corps, War Plan, War in the East, and Order of Battle. You're getting a bit of a hint here, they tend to deal with historical games. Well, you wouldn't be wrong. However, today we are going to look at some of the fantasy games that are coming out soon. So the only real question left is, would you like to know more? Starship Troopers is a truly fantastic franchise that has started off with a book that was taking itself a little too serious for comfort, but leading into one of the greatest sci-fi movies and garnering a cult classic status. They've gone on to create more movies and even an anime in later years, as well as some incredible games, such as the Starship Troopers FPS, as well as the phenomenal Starship Troopers Terran Ascendancy, a great little squad-based RTS that honestly deserved a lot more praise than what it got upon release back in the year 2000. And this is where Slitherine steps in. Currently pending release in the year 2021, Terran Command appears to pick up from where the original left off, giving you some squad-based combat, putting the best of the mobile infantry against the arachnid threat. Once more, this is going to be a squad-based RTS, looking at utilizing your units in the best way possible throughout each mission, dealing with limited resources against an unending horde of enemies. Now, one of the great features they're introducing into this game is their realistic line of sight. This means that each soldier from a squad will need to draw line of sight upon their enemy before engaging them, lest they end up shooting their own men or even having their field of view completely obscured by scenery. As such, you'll not only be fighting against the arachnids, but also obstacles on the map, ensuring that each of your soldiers has plenty of time to get a lock on their enemy before engaging them, and more importantly, before they close the distance to engage you. Hosting a healthy variety of units and enemies, this game draws upon primarily the movie and book for its inspiration. If we take a look at their teaser trailer, we can see the front line of your MI units is going to be overwhelmed, but we also have the use of highly specialized soldiers. Not only are MI units on the right, but also snipers nestled up on the high ground, unfortunately with the enemy flying over to meet them. But we can also take note of enemies coming up from the ground and mines laid out on the battlefield to help thin out the herd before it gets to you, as well as plenty of obstacles set up to try and hold off them for as long as possible, allowing your units the time needed to ensure the arachnid threat does not meet them. And finally, if we press a little further, we'll get to see the armored soldiers that make up the heavy hitters of the MI's infantry. We'll see plenty of iconic enemies from both the MI and the arachnid forces. You have your basic warrior bugs charging forward, aiming to get close in on the enemy as quickly as possible, the MI soldiers firing back with the best their assault rifles can provide, as well as plasma bugs hammering the enemy from afar, which are going to cause some serious problems if you don't deal with them quickly. Interestingly though, we also see ships dropping off soldiers. Now for those who are unfamiliar, Starship Troopers MI are known as Orbital Drop Troopers, so it'll be interesting to see if we also have the orbital drop units, as well as those being flown in by the air forces. For as we all know, MI does the dying, while Fleet does the flying. But it's really the use of these powered suits that has me interested. The Mjolnir armor and power armor used by the MI in both the books and the later movies is seriously impressive and packs some massive firepower. So it's going to be great seeing how this is introduced into the game, and also great to see how the Starship Troopers community actually reacts to their inclusion, as they are fairly overpowered. Now, something that I have seen omitted, but I really would be looking forward to see, is the inclusion of skinnies. For anyone who's seen the animated TV series, you'll know exactly what I'm on about. And for those who don't, well, now you have something to watch. But the main thing that's got me really anticipating this game is the fact that you are perpetually being swarmed. As it states within the movie, the arachnids have the numbers, and this is a numbers game. And as such, proper strategy is going to be the only way to win this campaign. Having your back against the wall and fighting every step against the arachnid threat. Can't think of what could be better. Well, that looks lovely, but what do we know about the actual game? Well, from the information released so far, We know that this is going to be a real-time strategy game based on squad-based management, with some inclusion of upgrades and progression for specific units within your forces. The story follows the deployment of the MI upon the planet of Qualasha, and as such, the areas you will fight upon are going to be primarily desert and heavily industrialized mining environments, which is definitely going to give a nice mix to the battlefield, going from some pretty open spaces to some very tight corridors. Two environments that require very different methods of approach. So how exactly will you engage the enemy? Well, anyone who knows the franchise will know that those numbers really are in the Arachnids' favor. The mobile infantry is going to have to rely on its technology and strategic use of the environment. There's a lovely integration within the game of elevation. The higher you are, the greater your field of view, and therefore the further away you can begin engaging the foe before they reach your line. Mix this in with a true line of sight and true line of fire, and this could cause some serious challenges throughout your campaign, particularly when it comes to those more industrialized environments, giving a lot more places for the Arachnids to lay out their ambush. After all, there may be a brain on Qualasha. To fight against this foe, the mobile infantry will be armed with their Marita rifles and fragmentation grenades, alongside some seriously heavy firepower. As technology progresses within the campaign, you'll gain access to various supporting units such as airstrikes, as well as some heavily armored Marauder mechs. Though I do so hope they stick true to the original and give you those nukes as an option. Now, the game promises to give an immersive storyline with unique missions, characters, and plenty of Starship Trooper flavor. Now, personally, the only thing I could ask for would be MPH to voice every single line in the entire game. Somewhat doubt this will happen, we can always live in hope. Now, the real thing to focus on for strategy gamers is going to be this management aspect. The game promises to allow you to manage a fleet of dropships, expand your base infrastructure, and capture strategic positions to strengthen your forces and unlock new weaponry. Yes, I just read that from Steam. But from everything I've seen of the gameplay, and particularly during Slitherine's Tea Time streams, that does seem to be pretty accurate. You'll be able to field basic mobile infantry with Marita assault rifles, as well as engineers with flamethrowers, snipers with sniper rifles, and a whole host of different supporting units. Interestingly, the way the game has often been described actually isn't centered around base management, and so the inclusion of base infrastructure in their key features is something I'm really looking forward to seeing how they build upon. It would be fine as something in between screens, something in the way of an XCOM style development, because to be honest with you, working with a mobile infantry, you don't really want a base. You don't want to be expanding from a central position, you want to be mobile. Because at the end of the day, sitting down, building your defenses and creating an impenetrable stronghold, well, that's all good and fun, but who wants to live forever? If that isn't enough to sell you that Slitherines want to watch for in 2021, then just wait for their next offering. Warhammer 40,000 Battlesector. Now, this game actually looks very similar to a game that Slitherine had already brought out, Sanctus Reach. However, this seems to be a more up-to-date and far more animated game than that. As a turn-based strategy game, you'll be playing as the Blood Angels during the Battle for Baal, going up against the Tyranid invasion fleet. Now, I know what you're thinking. The Tyranids, once more, have unending numbers, and are primarily based around close combat fighting, whereas Space Marines are the Emperor's best, working with surgical precision to destroy all enemies of the Emperor. But these are the Blood Angels, and that means close combat is going to be a pretty darn big thing. And just looking at some of these images from their trailers, they've honestly got the feel of this game down. The units look fantastic, the animations both slick and in keeping with the Warhammer 40k universe. Brutal as all heck. But it's the integration of momentum that really has me interested in this game. The momentum system can improve your units, making them far stronger in the battlefield and far more capable of carrying out your orders. This of course links into a far more aggressive style of play, something that really turn-based strategy kind of needs to force you to do, as it's far too easy to sit back and take your time with every single move, slowly activating the enemies one by one as you enter their field of activation to wipe them out in as controlled way as possible. But by integrating an aggression system into the actual game, you're going to be enticed into fighting in a much more aggressive manner, and therefore taking more risks and, honestly, likely having a lot more fun while you're at it. Which is exactly what you want to see when it comes to two armies so hell-bent on getting into close quarters. So what happens when you finally do get into combat? Well, to begin with, you will have access to a massive library of units. And with each unit coming with its own selection of abilities and weapons to use, then you're going to be spoilt for choice when commanding them on the battlefield. Something that's going to be quite useful when you find yourself going up against the Hive Tyrant. But as if that's not enough, you'll also have access to command points, allowing you to call in additional support on the battle, deep striking units from orbit directly into the fray, or even calling down air support to try and thin out the enemy before you get in, which if you watch the prior section, might seem like a bit of a running theme. I just prefer to think of it as something good done well. And of course, with this being a 40k strategy game, there are options for multiplayer set up, as well as hot seat modes available, something that is missing from a lot of modern games, hot seats being a bit of a throwback to the classics after all. So why should you be interested in this? Well, if you're interested in 40k, the chances are you've already heard of this game, and in the name of the Emperor, you have already pre-purchased it. Which, by the way, there is currently a pre-purchase offer going on right now, 10% off if you buy it before the 16th of July, that being the release date. A little bit of confusion there if, like me, you've been following this for a while and we're expecting it this month, but I'm not going to complain if they take that extra time just to polish it up and get the game right from the start. Considering how much good Slitherine has already done for the Warhammer community, bringing out such great titles as Gladius, Warhammer 40,000 Armageddon, and Sanctus Reach as some of the greatest turn-based strategy games for the 40k genre I have seen, then though that puts Battlesector against some serious competition, it definitely has the potential to outshine them all. Not to mention, it's proof that this company knows how to do 40k right. But maybe you're not a 40k fan. Maybe you're just here because you enjoy turn-based strategy. Well, for you, the unit rosters available in both of these armies, I'm genuinely not joking, are huge. This series has been going so long, it's changed names over the years. The original Rogue Trader introducing Space Marines to then only be changed to the Astra Militarum in far later years. So with plenty of history, you know there's going to be some good stories. And since we are covering the battles for Baal, all those stories are pre-written, so there's plenty for them to draw upon for their narrative. So we've got good story, good unit roster. What else? Well, we could go over animations again, but frankly, if you're into turn-based strategy, that's usually not a huge selling point. What is going to make a difference is balance. And this is really where I think this game will become interesting. The strategic considerations and risk management that this game introduces through something as simple as having a momentum system, I really do view as a game changer. It's something that fits so well within the environment of the game, and really brings in that risk reward, and that means you're going to have plenty of variation in how you build your forces and how you engage the enemies. If you're really wanting to rush in and meet them in face to face, you can always go assault heavy, as in assault squad heavy. But if you're wanting to pull back a little more, you can look more towards tactical marines or even devastators to give you that advantage. With the selection of weapons and units available, you know you're going to have to be planning out each mission, considering what the enemy has to offer and what best counters it. From your basic bolt pistol and chainsword, all the way through to plasmas, there is going to be some tactical consideration simply in organizing your forces, and thanks to the army management screens, you are going to be able to select your forces to best suit your methods. Something that never goes amiss for any strategy gamer. And as if that is still not enough, Slitherine has confirmed something rather special. Stargate Timekeepers. Now, information on this is pretty scarce at the moment for the simple fact that it has so recently been brought to notice. All we know is that MGN has given the license for this game to be created. We know we will travel through time and space to save civilians from the threats of their system lords. And one can't help but wonder exactly what will be in this game. Stargate is a fantastic movie and sci-fi series, and I believe had one of the longest running series with Stargate SG-1. This game itself being based upon that very universe. Now what's really interesting about this is the fact that Stargate hasn't had its own game in such a long time. In fact, the only two that come to mind are Stargate Resistance, that unfortunately shut down its servers before I could actually get a hold of it, and Stargate World, which unfortunately I don't think ever actually got finished. This could well be the game that so many people have been waiting for so long. And as a strategy game, that just makes it even better. The big question for me is going to be whether or not this is turn-based or real-time. Having a little look around the internet, I have found some articles regarding this, but unfortunately I can't verify any of them. In fact, the only real information I've been able to find has come from Slitherine Games' YouTube channel, where they've released their trailer. All we see is the Stargate dialing, locking in, before stepping through. But that's it. Title card, fade to black. We can confirm this will be a PC game, but as a strategy game, that's not really saying much. Going down to their description, we can see a little bit more information. First ever strategy PC game based upon Stargate SG-1, with the whole story kicking off from the end of Series 7 of Stargate SG-1's main plot. However, they do promise a new and original story beginning with the Battle of Antarctica. This will see Eva McCain take a team supporting SG-1 against Anubis' fleet. The game promises that you'll be able to take Commander McCain and her squad to face the enemies upon original locations, allowing you to rescue friends and allies from danger, with the allies being a key one for me. If they don't have at least one mention of Daniel Jackson, I am not going to be a very happy archaeologist. There you have it, the potential domination of Slitherine in 2021. Though I should note Timekeepers' release date hasn't officially been confirmed yet, I am living in hope, though in reality that may be a bit optimistic. But either way, some great announcements for some great games from a fantastic company. If you're not checking these guys out already, make sure to go onto their main website to check out the new things coming up, as well as some old classics. And if indeed you'd like to know more, you can always watch them over on Twitch for their Tea Time streams, where they've been showing off their games and all the mechanics and features coming to them, as well as giving some pretty nice rewards to loyal followers. So in the end, I'd just like to say, I have no association with this company. I am purely doing this because they look awesome, and I really want to hear what you guys think. Which of these games coming up are you looking forward to? What is it about them you're interested in? I'm really looking forward to finding out and sharing them as they're released. But till then, as always, peace out.